Okay, so last thing which we have on our list is wound, damages or scars. So let's start doing that. First, I'm gonna disable my war paint and tattoo so I have a cleaner canvas to experiment on. To start it, we're gonna start it the same way as we have been starting things. So add a fill layer, make it red-ish, add a black mask. So first thing I'm gonna cover is, I kinda don't know how to describe it, but a little bit like road rash when your skin rubs against the road really fast or something. Sometimes you get a rash or damage. So we're gonna try to fake something like that. So adding a fill, going to my cloud 3, drag and drop this guy, dial it more, go to my balance, change it. Now you can just spot what I'm trying to do and what I meant by those rashes. Playing with my contrast a bit to get more red out of it. So let's press M and something like this, but we don't want it everywhere. Add a paint, make it multiply, zoom out, press 4, make it black, drag so everything is black. Go with my brush, make sure opacity is on for the flow, and now we can selectively painting these damages. So this is the easiest and quickest way you can add something like this. But we are not done yet. As you guys know, I am a bit annoyed by flat tones of color. So we are going to break up this layer that we have. So let's go in, add an anchor point, name it wounds 1. Add a fill layer, it's gonna use the same color to start with. Add a black mask, add a fill, make it, so under anchor point, let's pick in wound 1. So it's using the same mask, but for the color, we are gonna make it a bit darker. On top of my fill, I'm gonna add one more fill using cloud 3 again, increasing the tiles and making it multiply. Let's go down, change our balance and change our contrast to give our wounds more breakup. So it should follow for these guys as well. So to end it, not to end it, but one last thing that we have is the height information. So I'm gonna push the wounds inside. So now they're working how I wanted them to. Same thing I keep on repeating with substance. Most of the operations we are doing, we are building them non-destructive. So I can always go in to my main paint, which will be this one, and keep on adding more, and that should follow everywhere. I can go in and fill his whole face with this guy. I don't know why, but I just felt it looked cool. Okay, so that's how we add rashes in. Obviously in our main one we will have a different roughness for these areas to make them look more woundness. By that I mean they will have more shininess. So let's go in and just do that for preview purpose. So maybe this one will be a better one. So moving it on top of my main roughness and changing the roughness for these ones to make it more shiny. And you can obviously see it does have that effect of a broken skin. Not a broken skin, but a wounded skin. I can also try changing this guy. Something like that. So this is what our final result might look like with the wounds on. Let's decrease this monstrosity we have created just now. So going to my paint, dragging it and selectively adding just a slight bit of damage now, so we can have that in our face. Alright, so that's how we are going to add a bit wounds, small wounds or rashes in our character. Let's enable our wall paint and the tattoos. So another thing that we have in terms of damages in our face or character is scars or wounds or fresh wounds, which are something I like to add in my sculpt before doing that in texture. But let's say you forgot to do that in your sculpt and you have to do it pretty fast and you don't want to go back to your sculpt, break it down and do another kind of freaky things. We can make things a lot easier by doing that in Substance. Again, to make myself more clear, if you are doing that, if you're adding a big scar or a hero wound which adds a lot to the face, do that in the sculpt first, not through Substance as we are going to do. But just so you know how to do it, let's go in and add a big mark on his face. So we're starting with the same thing. Make it red, add a black mask, add a paint, making it a little lighter. So I can go in and paint in a scar. Let me just enable pen pressure and a little bit of lazy mouse, and let's change the brush as well. So I'm going with my cotton brush. And I'm adding in the damages I want his face to have. So let's say this is the kind of mark that we want. First thing that we want to do is add a filter, make it warp so it's not bit perfect painted, just a slight bit. Making sure I'm recording. Then we're going to decrease the height so it goes in kinda like that. And then we are going to make an anchor point because we don't want things to be perfect. Adding a fill, going up, picking in my color from the bottom one, making it a little darker, adding a black mask, adding a fill, picking our anchor point which would be wound 2, adding a fill, our procedurals, going to cloud 3, making it multiply, tiling it more, changing my balance and contrast to have the breakup in our wound. I'm actually going to add a little bit more height with these guys, so we have one more layer of variation in that. In the last one I did not add it much because I feel this by itself is a bit too noisy. To a point it's like a right amount of noisy I want, and I don't want to make it more noisy. But this one we can go in and add this guys. So our scar or wound is going in, or the slash that he has on his face, but we are still missing that damages across the skin. So usually when you get beaten up or if you get this damage, some of the skin around the scar gets swollen up. So we're going to build a system to do that, and it will be the same thing as we did for our metal pieces in our beginning weeks. So to bring back the memories and to recap this for you guys, let's add a black mask. So this is how we build it. I'm going to create a black mask, adding a fill. We are picking in the anchor point, which has the mask of our wound, adding a filter, going for a blur, blurring it more to a point it goes out, adding a level, getting some white, adding a fill again, doing the same thing, adding an anchor point, wound 2, but making it multiply, and going to our levels and inverting it. So we have a mask that is running around our wounds. So this one will only affect our roughness and height a little, but we are not dealing with roughness yet. So let's just control the height, give it more height. This is not enough, so I'm gonna go to my levels again, change it till I find something I like. Decreasing my blur, changing my levels again. So maybe something like this. So we have just a slight bit of indent right about here. Alright, so now we can go in, since we have our system built up, we can add more of these scars if we want. Somewhat like this. So even though it's working, even our lights are interacting a little bit well with that, it does have, how should I explain that? It does have a little bit of feeling where you see it works, but in the back of your head it feels like there's something off about it. Reason being, the height that we have right now is added on top of our normal map, which is a bit inaccurate from different angles. It works fine here, works fine here, works fine here, does not work good here. So if you're doing something like that, that does change the look this much. Do that first in the sculpt before moving on to the texturing. But hey, at least we have a cool system where we can quickly paint in these guys and have fun with our look. Alright, so that's it for adding some additional things in our albedo or in our face. Now we are going to jump into finalizing things for our shader for our engine. So we're going to make roughness map and every other supporting maps in the next video.